Good evening. This is America's Mayor Live on the night before the vice presidential debate, which I think this year will be more significant than usual, and at exact time that Israel has answered the question we were asking on our prior program. Are they going to invade? They're making every indication that they are. They had mass troops starting yesterday on the border, and now apparently there's a report that they have entered Lebanon. Now, this is after a week and a half of degrading Hezbollah quite dramatically. Uh, they weren't able to take out the large percentage of Hezbollah yet in the way that they were able to take out a large percent of Hamas, but that was over a period of time. What they have done is destroy the entire leadership, just about the entire leadership of Hezbollah, including the people who founded it, Nasrallah. And we'll show you a chart later. And everybody's gone. You're getting down to the like the mafia, the make believe the make believe tough guys. If you want to look on a map, and then we'll show some pictures of the invasion. I'll show you where it is in terms of the map. It's basically, and I'll just make it even larger by holding it like that. It's kind of right. I mean, it's all. Put that. Whoop. Da, da, da. Zoom out, man. Here we go. Zoom out. Yeah. All right. So here it is, right here. It's on that area there. That's the area that from which a lot of the bombs were coming continuously since October 7, almost a year ago. They kept escalating every day. Israel escalated its response in turn, and then Israel did a preemptive strike, one of worldwide significance, when they took out the cell phones and beepers and walkie-talkies and all the other devices that Hezbollah had ordered, and apparently the IRGC as well. The IRGC actually has gotten rid of all of their communication devices, and we don't know yet how they're communicating. Now, I say we don't know. I have a pretty good idea. Mossad has probably figured it out. They're decimating the leadership of Hezbollah, has led the Ayatollah into hiding. He is now hiding somewhere because he's afraid he's going to be killed. I guess that thing about eternal life and the 70 plus virgins, and I guess he doesn't really believe it, huh? Sounds like he's peeing in his pants, the old man. Yeah. I think so. And the mullahs are, stashing their money somewhere, because those religious leaders of Islam are all a bunch of crooks and murderers and tyrants and torturers. This is the reign of terror, for sure, that has been supported by Obama and Biden. And among all of the awful things they have done, many of which I can attribute to Marxism, I don't get this one. It is probably some form of Marxism that you work with people like this, or anybody you have to degrade a country, namely ours, and Israel, which is our supporter. But exactly what the thing is with these crazy terrorists. I mean, we assumed, I think, in our study of communism back in the day, that a lot of people were taken in by communism, can take care of poor people, and didn't recognize for a while that the powerful people, the people of the party, are all millionaires and billionaires. China is a great example of that. The million members of the party are all well taken care of. The top ones, billionaires, and another level of millionaires, and everybody else quite wealthy. And the other 1.3 billion are either lower middle class or starving like hell. Now you're looking at pictures, I guess, right? Were we looking at pictures of the attack that led to the current one, or?
Yeah, they're not seeing it though. This is behind the scenes.
Well, shall we go back?
Play in a minute.
Well, why don't we go back and give them a little history? Shall we show them the attack that took out Nasrallah?
Yeah.
Do we have that?
Yeah.
Why don't we show that? and I'll show them. I'll show what it resulted in. Okay, we can get off the map for a moment.
Yep.
We'll get the hole. The little. We'll get the little hole. I like this little hole. It gives you an idea of this is how you this is a good this is a good picture to show your kids if they ever want to be terrorists. This is how you end up. Now we're watching the attack that took out Nasrallah.
Right.
That was an attack on Beirut in Lebanon. They've been after him for quite some time. My guess is they could have killed him for quite some time and kept him alive because they need somebody to make peace. And as they decimated Hezbollah, I mean, the two attacks in 2 days in a row that took out all of their electronic equipment and killed them with it, which demonstrated so many things, including the unbelievable penetration of the Mossad, in which if you're on the other side, you got to be looking over your shoulder or looking in your pants and say, where do they put things, these guys? And, you got to go back to the Israeli Olympic team that was destroyed in the Olympics in 72. And the fact that the Israelis said, no matter how long it takes, we're going to get you. So when they tell Simba, whatever the hell his name is, the guy who runs Hamas, you're a dead man walking. They only got him alive because they need somebody to agree to an end to this. If Nasrallah, I think they have been capable of taking out, I don't know how long. But I do think because the beginning of this war with Hezbollah was a symbolic one and a measured one in order to show their support for Hamas, who they never had any love for, but now are jointly allied because of Iran being the boss. They are called proxies of Iran, Hamas, which is in the middle, to the north, Hezbollah, to the south, Yemen, and the Houthis. They would be in the other order. It would be number one proxy, almost part of Iran, Hezbollah. Number two, Houthis. Number three, the bad boys, Hamas, that nobody likes and nobody wants. Nobody wants the Palestinians. The Palestinians are not a legitimate group of Arabs. What I mean by this is every Arab of any intelligence knows they're not a nationality. They're a piece of land. Egyptians live there. Syrians live there. Iraqis live there. There was no Palestinian. Arafat began his life as an Egyptian. He admitted at various times that he invented Palestinian. And they are considered at the bottom rung of a ladder that is quite rigid. It isn't quite India, but the Persians, for example, the Iranians think they're better than all of them, certainly of all the Arabs. And the Arabs, obviously, from the more established countries, think they're a hell of a lot better than the Arabs from the less established countries. And they all think they're a hell of a lot better than the Palestinians, to such an extent that the Palestinians turn out to be the murderers, and they're not wanted in Jordan or Egypt, and they're not wanted in Iran. Iran made this deal in order to create problems for America and Israel. Not sure that all of Hezbollah agrees with it. Sure, I'm certain the Houthis think it's crazy. And but they'll do it. They'll do what Iran wants. So taking out Nasrallah, crucial, particularly since this is what they did. We've shown the bombing, right, Ted? Now let's show them what that accomplished after the smoke and fire went away. I'd like you to see the home of the leader of Hezbollah. So if you aspire to be the head of a Arab Islamic extremist group, this is where you will end up. There, in a hole, way down, but way down deep. This is just like the top of the hole. He was way down there. It isn't nice down there. Yeah, no sunlight. Can't walk a lot. Yep, yep. Don't imagine the food's too good. And you come up and put your little head up over here. Ba-bing! Israel take you out. Now, Israel probably could have taken him out for months, and they didn't do it because they thought he'd be smart enough after they decimated his leadership to make peace. Whoever said they're smart? They're cruel, they're vicious, they're animalistic, and they come from a different century, not ours, way back. So he's gone. And Ted, do we have that chart of the others that are crossed off?
Yeah. We I put this up right now, and I'm
Okay.
play the. We'll put that away. You took it off.
So
I have the yes, I have the graphic up now.
So that is the group. If you just look at it, that is the group of the leadership of Hezbollah that existed about 2 weeks ago. I think everybody on that list is gone. Now, I want to ask you a question. If you got 72 virgins, you think there's enough to service all of them? What would that be like? That'd be like 72 times 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I mean, right there, you'd have 720. Quality has to deteriorate, Ted. They can't, communicate back. They might get them over that and say, everyone seems to have a mustache. So that's what's happened to them. A lot of that happened before Hezbollah went out, which shows you what a stubborn murderer he is. Should have called for a peace. And then finally they figured, well, we tried to convince him enough to make peace. Let's put a bomb on his head, which they did. As well as his number 2, his number 3, his number 4. So now who takes over? His cousin, Hashim Safadine, seems to be the number 1 on the list. I'm sorry, he was the number 1 on the list, but they took him out too. He was married to the daughter of Soleimani, the one who so much who killed so many Americans. What was that, Ted? You got to tell us what you're putting up.
No, nobody saw it.
All right, well, tell us what it is.
Well, I'll put it up now. What we have is just video of Israeli forces moving into Lebanon.
Okay, so that happened just a little while ago, right? Happened tonight.
Within the last couple hours.
So you see, it's dark there. It probably, because at around 6 o'clock tonight, it hadn't happened yet, our time. But they had grouped a massive amount of troops and given warnings to the people in the protected zone under the UN resolution, which is a mockery because the UN never has enforced a resolution. Otherwise, we wouldn't have this problem. And they're the troops going in. Have they engaged yet? Have we seen fire?
Not yet. Well, we haven't heard. Actually, we have heard. We haven't heard. I've read reports that there has been a lot of noise.
So they have started firing. Well, this is supposed to be, according to the anti-Israeli group, which means most Democrats, this is supposed to be like really a big mistake because Hezbollah now has a much improved army. Well, we're going to see, because they decimated the top of that army. They've also taken some pretty good numbers out of the army in general. They've done a pretty good job on their weapons. So they're not going in without having degraded them a great deal. So let's see what they've got left. And the real question is, does Iran come in and help them? I mean, the reality is, if Israel could neutralize Hezbollah and send them back to Iran where they belong, you got a chance to put a government together in Lebanon that would be half decent, made up of the various different kinds of Christian groups that are left there. Not many left. A lot of them have fled or been killed by the relentless persecution of Christians by Islamic extremists or Islamics. However you want to put it. Iran has vowed retaliation now for 3 or 4. They also vowed retaliation about 3 weeks ago, and they've been vowing a retaliation for Soleimani for over a year. And you have to see if they get engaged. There you can see some of the air fryer. That's been going on for some time, because that's been going on for some time, meaning a year. So it would be hard. It would be hard to tell. Is this a prelude to an invasion to just degrade the forces, or is it just a normal attack? Well, obviously, this one was intended to get the invasion ready. The other thing the Israelis did on Sunday, which was of great significance, hadn't really been done at this level before. They went and stopped pretending that the Houthis aren't doing tremendous damage. I mean, they're raising the price of goods in California by blasting shipping out of the Red Sea. Just blasting it out of the Red Sea. And American and everybody else, we have a carrier group there to stop it, and we're not doing shit. We're not stopping anything. And they're hitting us, and we're not hitting back. Well, the Israelis are made up of men. I mean that now in the colloquial, old-fashioned way. Tough people. Could be women, too. Tough people. People who don't get pushed around and be made fools of, like the people in the White House. If they are fools, they may be ideologues that are really on their side or see a purpose to this. But they bombed the hell out of the Houthis. Right after getting Hassan Nasrallah, which you'd think they'd take a day off to celebrate, they went ahead and they hit the port city of Hodeidah, as well as Ras Isa, and both of them have been the site of ships and other armaments that have been used in the attack. And they're also used by the Houthis to import oil and Iranian weapons. So they were significant sites. They weren't Clinton, Biden, Democrat, or empty fields, which is often what we do. And this was done also, I think, maybe in response to the going after Tel Aviv. I think when they decided to symbolically, Hezbollah, go after Tel Aviv, Bibi, what was after that Bibi ordered the get rid of Nasrallah, which I think they've been waiting on, get rid of the rest of the leadership, and let's send the Houthis a message also. Now, they did attack one of those ports in July, and they put down some of their fuel tanks. This time, I think they took out the rest of them in Hodeidah, and also attacked the twin city that they have for oil, Ras Isa. I don't know how much damage they did to it, but the bombings look catastrophic. Now, of course, when you hit oil, you'll get that kind of reaction. So at the time they were doing it, they were also hitting the Houthis in the north, showing the world, and America even, that this idea of a two-front war, not a great idea, but the Israelis might be able to carry it on without sweating too much, huh? Meanwhile, the U.S. is of very little value. They've got two carrier groups there, and the guys are probably saying, what the hell are we doing here? And they're being taught DEI. They're being taught, the guys aren't ready to fight yet because they don't know the proper pronouns. Secretary of Defense and working on, they'll be allowed to engage in the mission when they have the pronouns right. But again, thank you, Bibi, for doing our dirty work. Nasrallah killed many Americans. He deserved to die. This will make America safer if we can get rid of them. And it'll make negotiations with them a heck of a lot better. So we'll we'll check toward the end of the show to see if we have any more information about the ongoing invasion of Lebanon. And the question is, are they going to, and I think I know the answer to this, but I could be wrong. Are they going to stay in the demilitarized section and clean it out, which they've been asking the UN to do for 7 years? The UN hasn't been doing it. Israelis have been harassed by that and actually even to some extent killed by it, and they've had to abandon their homes. And I think Bibi has now had enough of it. Let's just get them out of there. Meanwhile, Biden still thinks there's a ceasefire there, and no one has told him that Bibi has entered Lebanon, because he and Harris announced that there was a ceasefire on Thursday. So I got to tell you, the Israelis really know how to take advantage of ceasefires. They got rid of the leadership of the opposition, got rid of the sub-leadership of the opposition, took on the third proxy group and banged the hell out of them, and now have invaded Lebanon. And that's all while Biden and Harris had a ceasefire. They do better when there are ceasefires. They listen to Biden as much as Putin does, as much as Iran does, as much as Hamas does. I mean, he's a non-entity and he doesn't count. And the other one, I think they're saying, you've got to be kidding me. You're not going to give us that. Well, today, Donald Trump was back again on the trail. He just is the guy is without any need to sleep. He was in the crucial state of Georgia to make a statement about the hurricane. But we'll be right back, and we'll take a short break. Delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please donate now.
We're back. And we're back.
This is Rudy Giuliani, and we are back with America's Mayor Live. So Donald Trump was in Georgia today, I think as much as a campaign stop as he was to express his support and his feelings and his prayers about the terrible damage that Hurricane Helene did. Even more maybe than Florida, right? Even though they hit in Jacksonville. But in any event, Trump was there and meeting with people and giving them the kind of lift that only a presidential visit can do. I know there's always a thing about presidents shouldn't go because it disrupts and da-da-da-da-da-da. Well, there's a certain truth to that if you go at the wrong time and very early. But the hurricane's gone now, and the people are actually just beginning to absorb what happens to them. And the idea that someone, as famous and as powerful and as able to help them as a president or former president like Trump, just lifts their spirit. There's nothing quite like it. I remember that when I was mayor, when President Bush came on the Friday after September 11th, even though there was a whole thing about he'll interrupt things and he'll do this and he'll do that. Myself and Governor Pataki were very much in favor of it for the purposes of morale. Now, as usual, I do not think that our non-president made a statement about this until today. Well, I mean, somebody should have told him that the hurricane's over. It's over, Joe. You were sleeping on the beach. Oh, I guess it wasn't on the beach. I mean, you're sleeping at home while it was going on. And Harris was out getting votes. She wasn't doing shit for the people. I mean, they are just a terrible administration. They do everything wrong. It's all inconsistent with any other president, Republican or Democrat, I've ever done. I mean, this is really different. And Trump is bringing some real narrative, which I know from prior experiences, are enormously effective, as effective in many ways as the government, because the government may have more resources, but they have much more bureaucracy. So to get your hands on it is, you've got to have like 3 lawyers and Supreme Court justices, and then they're going to steal half of it anyway. So this stuff gets right to you without any corruption. And I think Trump's appearance there will mean a lot to the people of Georgia. I'm the politics at this stage with 5 weeks to go is always on your mind, but at the same time, I'd say this was as much a mission of mercy as it was a political one, and a great contrast with the very cold, heartless Harris and Biden, who really didn't seem to pay much attention until today. Exactly why? Ask them. The press won't, so you'll have to. Do you look at him? Have we shown him, Ted? Have we shown the president? Shall we take a snippet from what he said?
So we just played a clip of him touring the area in Georgia, and next we're going to play a clip from his speech here momentarily.
Okay.
Here's him arriving.
USA! USA! USA!
hard-fought national election. But in a time like this, when a crisis hits, when our fellow citizens cry out in need, none of that matters. We're not talking about politics now. We have to all get together and get this solved. We need a lot of help. They have to have a lot of help down here. We look out for one another. We pull together. We pitch in. We persevere, and we pull it through. That is really the American spirit. That's what made America originally great. And that's why today I've come to Valdosta with large semi-trucks, many of them, filled with relief aid, and a tanker truck filled up with gasoline. We have a couple of the big tanker trucks filled up with gasoline, which they can't get now. And we'll be working to
but also with the resources of Samaritan's Purse, which are quite extensive. The election itself, there was an analysis of election spending in the Wall Street Journal, and Harris, I guess, has outspent him almost 2-to-1, $743.5 million to $426.5 million, and she has available right now about she's planning on, I don't know how much she has available in cash. She's planning on $647 million in campaign ads, and Trump is planning on 273 million. So that's 3 times as many. That I mean, has to be that has to be accounted for in some other way, because that, although television is not as crucial as it used to be, it still is crucial maybe to that vote that remains, which is the less engaged vote. And so the less engaged vote, you might only be able to reach by watching their favorite television show, because they're not that interested in politics. So even though most people aren't going to make up their minds based on television, a disproportionate number of the people left may. So I hope he gets up his fundraising, and before the end of the campaign can at least cut that thing by half. The election in Pennsylvania is looks like it's crucial. I mean, they were both there on Saturday. Trump was at a basketball arena where he was complaining that he only had 5,000 people because they wouldn't let him campaign outside. And they could only see him from a teleprompter. Now you say, well, he shouldn't be such a baby and complain. But this is his. This would be as if you wouldn't let Kamala read from a teleprompter. This is the way he campaigns. This is the way he reaches voters. This is his special trick or his special weapon. She can't do this. Nobody can do this with a rally. And the rally ignites people. So the crowd, the larger it is, the better you're going to do in a swing state. And they have again found another way to sort of confine him. Last time they took the rally away from him with COVID. Now they've taken the rally away from him as a outdoor rally, big rally, tremendous rally that assures turnout in that area and conveys great emotion and strength to the rest of the country. They kind of calmed that down too by his being by the 2 attempts on his life, which I don't say they have any connection to, but I do say they have a motive to. And to not examine each one of the people or groups that has a motive is to conduct a very, very incompetent investigation. It shouldn't matter who they are. The only way you solve a murder or attempted murder is you go look at each of the people with motive, and you find out what they were doing, when they were doing it. Are they involved? Is there some connection? Or was it just accidental that 2 people attempted to kill him within 2 months? So, so the people around all of the Democrat insane people, which would go from Biden to people related to him, certainly seem like they want to see him dead, right? Didn't that Goldman? Who was the guy? Who was the one that said he should be extinguished? Secretary Raimondi, yeah, the former governor of Rhode Island. But Goldman said something too about him being eliminated. Well, here she is.
For good. We have an answer. We have a remarkably talented candidate who is sincere, who's pragmatic, who's open. Let's just get it done. What he says is the opposite. It's just another lie. Like, how did we get here? Let's extinguish him for good. We have an answer. We have a remarkably talented candidate who is sincere, who's pragmatic, who's open. Let's just get it done. What he says is the opposite. It's just another lie. Like, how did we get here? Let's extinguish him for good. We have an answer.
Well, she was forced to clarify that when I think Mia Brzezinski broke in and said, "Well, you mean?" And they straightened it out to, "I mean him being destroyed at the ballot box," something like that. But the first statement is the one that the nuts are going to seize on to, and no a dog whistle. Everything we do is a dog whistle for something, but everything they do, it doesn't matter. I mean, even if they say go riot, it's okay. Riot in 2020, that wasn't like an incitement. I tell them every time I see them that just be aware of they're going to still keep coming after you. They haven't gotten rid of you yet. Harris made an appearance at Pittsburgh Carnegie Mellon University and gave a speech on economics that I didn't understand, so I can't explain it to you. I'm just not smart enough to understand her word salads. I don't exactly understand what she wants to do, and she doesn't bring up her real big programs because they told her they're bad, so she didn't even mention them now. Of course, won't be questioned about them, which is setting prices and controlling rent. The setting prices is implicit in when she says, I'm going to go after the bad guys, and I'm going to make sure the price of food and isn't exorbitant, and I'm going to go after the price gouges. Now, if she's going to go after the price gouges, she could do nothing about the price of food because they aren't gouging on the price of food. The margin of profit on food at no point is more than about 2.5%. So maybe you could bring that down to 2%, maybe. But they're not. These guys are not walking away with 100% profits. You bring down the prices on that, you aren't going to have food for a lot of people, and you're going to have a catastrophe. Price controls on critical items are extraordinarily dangerous. Got it? They're extraordinarily dangerous. They are a pure communist solution. So when I call them communists, they deserve it because they are recommending and utilizing things that come right out of the communist playbook of Karl Marx. Biden's been doing that from the beginning. This whole lawfare thing, going after your enemies and putting them in jail, that's right out of Nazism and communism. Never happened before. You're wondering all the time this republic has never happened before. Now they come along and they're putting Biden and they're trying to put Trump and 100 of his associates in jail. And him 4 times in 1 year. And that isn't interfering in the election. Give me a break. Give me a break. So she wants a ban on corporate price gouging. So how do you ban corporate price gouging? You set prices. You say you can't charge more than that. The only way to do it. It's the only way to do it. She wants to take care of those bad landlords. Make sure, and she said, she bought into the 5%, no more than a 5% increase in rent in the first year. They're not saying what they'll allow in the second year. Maybe it's the first 2 years. But the government's going to be in charge of all rents. The government's going to be in charge of all prices. Starting to sound like now, not just partially a communist government but a whole big one, communist. So how does the election look right now? That's another point that, is really important if we want to save our democracy. And right now, of course, it's tight as hell. And I think the debate tomorrow night is going to have a lot to do with it. Don't you think so, Ted?
I think so. But how, in the grand scheme of things, how consequential is the vice presidential debate?
Usually not. Usually, it's only consequential when the vice president says something stupid and they can use it against him. And even then it wasn't. Quayle said something unfortunate in his debate and nobody remembered it and they elected Trump. And I'm trying to think of who else. Somebody else said something not so bright in a debate and they covered it up. I mean, it goes away. I can't see anything catastrophic happening.
Do you remember the Ryan Biden debates, for example? I don't remember them at all. I don't remember the Biden-Palin debate. Do you?
I do.
I don't even remember that one.
I do remember Biden, and I do remember Biden and Palin, and Palin did very well, actually. She may have won that debate, but of course, that they would never say that. So, Vance is going to be in the debate, and they go after Vance on so many things. I think he's going to be the winner because I think he's going to defy expectation. He's a nice guy, and he's real smart. And Walz is not real smart. Walz is like a swarmy used car salesman, Middle West style, or maybe it's door-to-door, one of those door-to-door. Vance, went to the sandwich shop in Pennsylvania And I think he had his people were in there and they were going to have like a little discussion, but I guess it wasn't worked out in advance. So the owners, it's called Primanti Brothers, the owners wouldn't let him in.
That's right.
Now, instead of going crazy and being a jackass, he said, okay, I understand it. We hadn't organized it correct. For lunch, added a significant tip and said, you know, we're not in favor of taxes on tips. We're going to get rid of them. And he went away. And now the Primanti brothers are trying to get him back because they feel very, very bad because they didn't know what was going on. But I just wanted to give you an idea of what a classy guy he is. That's a classy thing to do. So I expect to see him tomorrow night do very well. I have a special program for tomorrow night because I want these answers for me. I began developing from day one on Tampon Tim the fact that he has too many connections with China, right? Let me outline them real quick. At 20 years old or so, he was sent to China, brought to China under the auspices of Harvard University, who paid for everything. He was trained. We don't know what he was trained in. Apparently, he was trained to teach in China because then he went back 30 times, which now his campaign says was more like 15 times. And he exaggerated the number of times. Does the guy tell the truth about anything? He's the one who said 30 times. Now they say 15 times because he exaggerated. No, he lied. Like he exaggerated his rank. He lied. Like he punked out of going into action with his unit that he trained with and that he trained. And his minister, let's use his minister's words, not all the men that say he's a coward. His minister says it was because he was a coward. And some of his men died, and he didn't give a shit. This is the kind of guy that he is, all this make-believe. But for all that, plus he lets his city burn. He lets the kid mayor ask for the Guard and the National Guard. He doesn't give him the National Guard. When he gives him the National Guard, he gives him a puny couple of hundred, and then eventually only sends 100. And his daughter gives away the positions they're going to be in. I mean, this is all true. What I'm telling you is all true. It's also all true that he went to China. He was trained in China, and he went to China 15 times or 30 times, and he taught there. And he brought young, impressionable American children with him for that teaching or that experience. Now, let's get real about China. He didn't go there to teach about the Star-Spangled Banner. He didn't go there to teach the Chinese about how great America is and you'd want to come to America. I'll tell you why. He wouldn't have been back one time, much less 15 or 30 times, had he done that. In fact, he might not be walking around had he done it. They wouldn't have let him bring all those kids if he had done that. He had to be sticking to their curriculum for them to allow him to come back. Now, that's just the reality of communism, which makes him a communist. And it also explains a lot of the strange things that he said and done. For example, we find out, but you're not going to find out, that he promoted a research facility that's partners with Wuhan Lab. Remember Wuhan Lab, the source of COVID-19? So this COVID dictator, one of the worst of the COVID despots, was into the virology lab that leaked it in the first place, and that is run by the Red Chinese government and army, trying to make his overseers happy. The ones who gave him his nice trip when he was a kid, gave him his best vacation in his life. He likes Red China so much, he went there on his honeymoon. He likes Red China so much, he selected Tiananmen Square as the date of his wedding. Would you have the date of a slaughter of Chinese people as your wedding date? Unless you were a communist. I mean, only a communist would see Tiananmen Square, something to celebrate. The last thing you would want to do is have it on that day, huh? It's like choosing September 11th for your wedding. Oh, I'll never forget it if I do it on September 11th or whatever. Whoa. So this research facility, the Hormel Institute, teamed up with the Wuhan Institute of Virology, including in 2020 for a COVID-19 study. And as recently as this year on structural biology research. And it's a close relationship. Bin Liu, a professor at the Hormel Institute, who is listed as working on the 2020 EMBO journal study, which was about COVID, right, attended Wuhan University. This is the group that he supports. Then he's also been either recorded or there were witnesses that say that with the students when he's there, he says things like, everyone is the same in China and everyone shares. That's a damn lie. Go tell that to the Uyghur people who are the subject of genocide. Go tell that to Catholics and Christians who have been killed for their religion. Go tell that to Muslims who are killed for their religion. And go tell it to half of China that's starving. And compare that to the Communist Party members, 1 million, who are all rich and the very top of millionaires and billionaires. Yeah, that's communist. Everyone is the same and everyone shares. As a statement about China is propaganda. That is what says to me, when they brought him there, they trained him to be an operative because he says things that are stupid, but that are propaganda. Like one man's socialism, another man's neighborliness. Everyone is the same and everyone shares. The school that he started in, I don't know if he taught there all the time, is in fact a school of special interest to Xi Jinping. It's the one that he's used for all of his experimentation, and it's a symbol of Xi's tighter grip on the nation. It's called the Foshan #1 High School, and that's where he taught. This is Xi's #1 school, where you put people like this guy who they mouthpiece for Red China. And there's a whistleblower who apparently has given the House committee a great deal of information about this. You don't have to be a genius to put this puzzle together.
One guy.
Traitor not to ask him. Or maybe they'd always accomplish. I would think the thing that people really have against him is letting Minneapolis burn. I don't think the press has given enough attention to the significance of all of these trips to China, his statements about China, the fact that China engaged us in this business very, very aggressively of grooming Americans. That's why when something goes wrong in China, you get a bunch of Americans that blame the United States and attack China. Like when Trump cut off people from China coming in when COVID first started, which was a very, very brilliant and great thing to do, save 500,000, 1 million lives maybe. He gets attacked by all of these toadies of Red China as a xenophobe. Biden being the top one. Of course, Biden is probably, whatever amount of money that Walz has gotten to teach in Red China pales in comparison to the 30 million that the Biden boys took out of our biggest enemy, Red China. I just think it's amazing that they're now saying that Walz exaggerated the number of trips to China because he's so proud of his experience there. No, he exaggerated because he's a liar if he exaggerated. That's why he did it. Because I don't know that if there's one thing about Walz that turns out to be true. I served proudly in the National Guard until I had to go into action and get shot at. And then I got very sick. Oh, and the minister called me a coward. I went to China 30 times. It's actually 15 times. He's just bullshitting. Let's see. What was he? A sergeant major, but he really wasn't. Didn't he exaggerate his rank for 4 or 5 years until they found out that he didn't get that rank because that was actually what he was supposed to sign up for if he went back, but he was embarrassed to go back because all his men were going off and he was punking out. So he was reprimanded for misrepresenting his rank. I'm a sergeant major, retired. In fact, he had Pelosi introduce him in Congress that way. We're so proud to have retired Sergeant Major Champon Tim here. He should have said, no, I'm just a sergeant. It's a sergeant. I never became a master sergeant or whatever, staff sergeant, whatever sergeant. Whatever. Of course, I punked out on the when they were going to start shooting. I didn't want to be there. I carried this weapon into combat. I never went into combat. I was lying about that. I never went into combat. I was lying about that. I just make believe I went into combat. Not as bad as the guy in Connecticut who says he went to Vietnam completely. I'm just saying I went into combat here occasionally. I didn't say I went into a whole war like the guy in Connecticut. Who they seem to have forgotten about. I'm going to remind them. He had a business, travel business back and forth to China. And again, Xi Jinping to be used for experiments in indoctrinating people. Now, we're going to find out if we live in a free country, in a fair country, in a country with a real press. If they don't ask a question about this, they should all be fired. And then, the debate is completely fixed. It's the single most important unanswered question of this campaign. I am convinced, although I don't know if the majority of Americans are, that we've had a guy bought and paid for by China running the country for almost 4 years now. And I can give you a chapter and verse of the things he's given away to them. I'll give you one, the base. 400 miles from China, he gave it up. And lo and behold, China now has it. That was worth the money China paid him. Are we going to have another guy that gets paid off by China or is an operative of China or is giving us every indication he is and nobody has the interest or love for America to ask the question? Well, hopefully they will. And hopefully, if they don't, JD will get it in there. Let's take a short break. We'll be back momentarily.
We're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
They won't play the Yankees.
Well, the Yankees have made the playoffs. The Yankees are the best record in the American League, except they slid into that by losing 2 out of 3 to who was the last team they played? Pittsburgh, I think. And then they lost 2 out of 3 to Baltimore. So their end record was 2-4, but that was enough because of their good play previously to end up with the best record in the American League, which means they get a bye and they wait for the winner I think they'll play the winner of Detroit.
Whoa.
Why don't they play the winner of the? Shouldn't they play the winner as the best record? Shouldn't they play the winner of the wild card game of the wild card game because that's the weakest two teams?
Well, there's now 16.
So, but the number one seed should get the weakest team.
Number one seed plays. Well, yes, but it's not guaranteed the weakest team, right? So the one seed plays the 5 versus 4 winner. The 2 seed
The what?
plays the 6 versus 3 winner. So the one seed, you're the one seed.
Are they going to line it up by
They don't line
ones?
it, they line it.
Did they line it up based on wins and losses, or based on winning championships?
Neither. They base it off of. They set the seeding before the playoffs, 1 through 6. That's it, and they lock it in. So, and they have the one seed, which is taken.
But they didn't know they'd be the one seed a week ago.
But the one seed always going to be the winner of the 5 versus 4 seed playoff bracket.
But the one seed should play the winner of the wild card bracket.
There's 6 total.
Then it should play the team of the lowest wild card bracket.
You're saying they should reseed it after the first round.
What I'm saying is, like in football, right? That's what they do in football. You take one of the benefits you get for being the top seed is you get a round off, right? And then you play the weakest of the teams that are in the playoffs.
Yes.
And they work it out that way. Strongest plays weakest, next. That's the benefit you get for winning the season. But you're telling me the Yankees are going to play the second weakest wild card pairing.
So it depends who wins. So if you look at the screen here, the one seed will play the winner of the 5 versus 4. The 2 seed, in this case, the Cleveland Guardians, will play the winner of the 6 versus 3 wild card round. The idea being the 3 seed is supposed to be the 6 seed, right?
No.
The idea being the 3 seed beats the 6 seed. So the 3 seed being the highest seed, they would play the 2 seed.
I see.
It's just, but it's locked in. If the Tigers win, they play Cleveland no matter what. What you're suggesting is that they should automatically play the Yankees because they're the lowest seed.
Yes.
I tend to agree with you. What they've done instead is lock in kind of a bracket for.
So who do the Yankees play?
The Yankees will play the winner of the Royals versus the Orioles. This is a new format.
Oh, the Orioles are one of the best teams in baseball.
Yes.
And the Orioles just beat them 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
And the Orioles, until recently, until Cleveland passed them, had the second best record in baseball.
Yes.
And they have the third best record in the American League. The Orioles have the third best.
Winners. Houston Astros.
Well, okay. I mean, damn stupid season. It's a damn stupid seeding.
I agree. I don't like this. A lot of people don't like about it. I don't like that the first round you 8 in a row. Get the playoffs, you get 1 home.
What's the second round? 5 games?
5 games.
Then they go to 7?
And then 7.
So what are the 3 rounds or 4? Well, 3 rounds for a 1 seed.
It's usual. It's
4 rounds for a wild card.
Yeah. Just like the old days, right? If you're the 1 seed, you're playing 2 rounds of conference playoffs.
Well, the Yankees will probably have to get through Baltimore. They'll probably beat KC in 2 out of 3, right? Yeah. Then after that, they go into the 5. They go into the 5-game matchup, right?
Yep.
And
that'll play. So Houston, Detroit. Let's say Detroit stays hot. Detroit somehow wins it. Then it's Detroit and Cleveland.
The Yankees that
I'm hoping that we have a Yankee Tiger playoff. Yeah. How epic would that be?
That'd be terrific. That would be terrific.
We're bringing up our first episode here. We started our live. It was a playoff game. It was an ALCS.
That's how we started America's Mayor Live, right?
Oh gosh.
Wasn't too bad.
Let's see right here.
Play a little of it. Let's see it.
There it is.
The Yankees to start with. Let's go with what we got right now. Okay? And then the Yankees.
So,
and the
Mayor, set the scene for us here. Game
So-
2.
Your earpiece on.
game number 2. The Yankees have switched around their lineup.
You hear it? You hear yourself?
They have Bader. They have Bader batting first. Now that's an interesting switch because Bader. I mean, Bader's a good hitter. He's a contact hitter. That's probably why he's up first. But he's also a home run hitter. So, and he's had the most home runs in the playoffs, 4. I'd say he was the MVP of the series with the Guardians. But they're looking for more pop at the beginning of the lineup, which they weren't getting out of Gleyber Torres. So this is being done to put up somebody who can get on base. And he's already taken 2 balls, which is an early sign that he's the right That
choice,
was a.
who knows? I mean, there are a
This
lot of
was like
things
a
that go
wish
into-
come true.
We're gonna have to see.
I
He
always
just swings
wanted
and
to do
grounds it
play
to
by play.
short, and he'll be out by easy 5 steps, 1 down. Thanks
That was a hard hit ground ball, but it was right at the first baseman, right at the third baseman, who made a great throw to first. Oh, we don't have to listen to that.
So Valdez is
No,
on
no,
the
but
mound
goodbye.
for hasn't had the best playoff record, but who cares right now? I mean,
Maybe we
those
did.
things go out every game.
Right?
Yeah,
It was a
we
new
did.
game for these guys. I mean, past performance, I don't know if you can go by that too much.
So let's cover a few
So
more
the
things.
judge is up now. He already has a
They
ball
might not
on.
get
He
elsewhere.
struck out a lot in this series.
We've covered Israel. Any happened in Israel?
Yeah, let me bring that up.
The Latino vote. Here's an analysis of it. Some vote analysis came out today. You might want to see it. She had a Latino vote right now in the news. NBC always have to worry. Telemundo poll and CNBC. Oh, wow. Well, so their poll has her with a 14-point lead in the Latino vote. However, she had in the last election, there was a 33-point advantage. So Trump has cut that advantage in more than half. And I would say if he maintains that 54-40 break in the Latino vote, it's going to solidify, could make Florida bigger. It'll help a lot in Arizona. And then it'll marginally help in a few other places where there are significant, where they're very close and there's a not significant, but a decent sized Latino vote. So that's a heck of a difference. 14 points, and it used to be 33 points in the Latino vote. They had a 33-point advantage in 2020. They were 38-point advantage in 2016. They were a 44-point advantage in 2012. So you can see a definite trend with the Latino vote, right? A drop to 14% is not and a spread now of from down to 14 points. I tell you. And then the congressional spread has also gone down to 12 points between Republicans and Democrats with the Latino vote. 42% Latino vote for Republican congressional members will be very, very decisive. And they favor Trump. When you think about the border and how tough he is on the border, Latinos favor Trump by 9%. So I don't know where his border policy is unpopular. Early votes in 2020, 60% of Democrats voted by mail and only 32% of Republicans. So the question is this time, can we change that margin so that Republicans will vote more consistently? Republicans would vote more consistently early. So they were 60% to 32%. In a poll this year as to who's going to vote early, the Democrats are down to 51%. So they're going to drop off by about 9%. We don't know that that's going to happen. If the Republicans can get themselves up to about 40% in early voting, that should make a very, very big difference. Because among the 51% of voters that said they would vote early, it's about a 60-35 Harris split. So you got to get more Republicans in that. In the early voting, Republicans are really urged to vote early. I am going to vote early because I will be out of town. I'll be out of out of Florida on election day, probably coming back at night, maybe for a victory party. We'll see. So I'll vote early. There's a there's a heck of an election in the Hudson Valley between Mike Lawler and Mondaire Jones. Mondaire Jones is the former congressman. Lawler beat him last time. Mondaire Jones is a Jumaane Williams. Jumaane Williams is the guy that would unfortunately succeed Adams should Adams drop out. Jumaane Williams is an AOC on steroids. And so is this guy Jones. Let's look at his record when he was in Congress last. And how the hell the people in New York are going to vote for him is really, really impossible. Jones, in 2021, when he was in Congress for his one term, he signed a letter promoting the No Border Wall Coalition. So that, to make it easier for the murderers, the rapists, the Trendy Aragua, the fentanyl people, the child traffickers to come in, make it easy for them, get the wall down. He demanded a removal of military personnel from the U.S.-Mexico border. And he advocated for taking down barriers such as razor wire, which is what Abbott used to cut the illegal alien migration into Texas dramatically and send it all over to Arizona. He voted against he voted against prohibiting gang members and sex offenders from becoming citizens. What is he, a pervert? Why do you want sex offenders to become citizens? We got enough of them. And he blasted funding for ICE, calling it a racist institution. He wanted to limit deportation so we keep most of them here. And he encouraged catch and release. In other words, he was in favor of the what happened, of the 12 to 20 million coming in. And now he supports the bipartisan bill that would say that we have to accept between 1 and 2 million every year illegals, despite the fact that they're illegal. It would codify, after they got their big bounce in of 20 million, when all of Ellis Island was 12 million, they're now going to have a steady flow of 1 to 2 million illegals every year, which the Congress would be voting for. They don't tell you that when they say that the Republicans and Trump refused to go along with it. Trump did not need to twist any arms. There were virtually no Republicans that voted for this bill. I think there were 10 Democrats that voted against it also. The bill was a travesty. It also would have set up a path for citizenship, which she's in favor of doing, and he's in favor of doing. So that's a race where Lawler in the Hudson Valley, right above New York, get him some money, get him some help. We'll be trying to bring you some of these races where they need help, and there are plenty of them. There are plenty of them. The debate tomorrow night, I would say Vance has got to expect that they're going to be very hostile. They don't know how. I mean, even if they try to be fair, they don't know how to. They've lost it. They just don't know how to be fair and impartial because they've spent so much time being advocates for the Democrat Party. Some of them realize it, and some of them don't even realize what prostitutes they've become and how much their profession is hated. I think it might be the most hated profession of all now. I really do. I think that what used to be the most hated profession? I don't even know.
Lawyers used to.
Oh, I think they're way below lawyers in terms of public confidence. Most of them lawyers anyway. They got both going for them. The anger moron case was argued in the Aptiv First Department on Friday. It looks like it can be reversed. They asked questions like, one judge, I believe the bench was all Democrat. I'm sorry, what's being described sounds an awful lot like a potential commercial dispute between private actors, just as John Higgett noted. Gee, I think I said that a couple of times. And it seems, Judge Higgett noted, that the Attorney General has gotten into an area that wasn't intended for her jurisdiction, except she had promised to do it as a campaign promise, Judge. And so she had to. I mean, isn't justice about campaigning? He suggested the court may need to impose guardrails on the Attorney General's power. Maybe the court should get rid of her. Justice David Friedman concurred. You've got two really sophisticated parties in which no one lost any money. These judges are the old-fashioned judges that believe fraud requires the loss of money. They also are ones that don't believe that you make up the law, it seems. This is very fortunate for Trump that he got judges like this. Prior cases brought under the state civil fraud law involve corporation actions with large numbers of victims, such as banks bilking customers. Justice Friedman said, you don't have anything like that here. There has to be some limitation on what the Attorney General can do in interfering in these private transactions when people don't claim harm. The immense penalty in this case is troubling. That was Justice Peter Moulton. Now, when judges express opinions like this during an argument, it doesn't always mean reversal, but usually it does when they make statements. Here's where you can get fooled. When they ask you tough questions that seem to be against your opinion, and they give you a chance to answer it, they may be, in fact, acting as devil's advocate and, in fact, on your side and just bolstering your case in order to persuade a colleague who hasn't been persuaded yet. But these were not questions. These were straight out statements. He didn't ask her to explain how she justified it. He said, the AG is going into an area that wasn't intended for her jurisdiction. He didn't say, well, explain to me how the AG wasn't going into an area beyond her jurisdiction. That would be a suggestion that he's on that side, but it could be a fake because he could be trying to persuade somebody else who's on that side because he thinks you're going to give a good answer. He didn't. These were rhetorical questions, statements of position. And unless they're real teasers, and I never thought of judges as being teasers, this absolutely terrible abomination of a case is going to go down in the Democrat capital of the world. That'll be one hell of a thing. And they're all of one type, these cases. If one goes down, they should all go down. After all, they were all conceived by Biden and the Biden people to try to stop him from being the president. It didn't work. And that's when Bernie and I went to him and said, you better worry. They may try to kill you because they've tried everything else. I still worry about that. And I'm not going to say that I believe that or I can prove that. I am going to say that it damn well is a hypothesis that should be investigated. You've got to investigate as possible murderers. One, that it's happenstance. Just happened that way. Two, if it didn't happen that way, who has the biggest motive? Kamala Harris. She'll be president if she gets this guy done away with. And the Democrat Party will get off the hook for all of the deep state crime, all the selling out of America, all the treason, and everything. And they'll be able to continue whacking up money like crazy with Ukraine and getting the Ukrainians and Russians killed. And they'll be able to continue to double cross Israel and maybe squish it out. So getting rid of him, if he's going to win, I mean, look, they had people illegally taking him off the ballot in the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. So the Secretary of State of Michigan, Secretary of State of Maine just takes his name off the ballot. His name's off the ballot. Why? Insurrection. What insurrection? You know, the one in the newspapers, because there was never one charged, never one proven. And so another race that's very, very is the race in St. Petersburg, Florida, with Anna Paulina Luna, who is now being threatened for the second time. The last time she ran, her opponent threatened to kill her. No, seriously. He has an audio on audio calling a lawmaker. He said she's a dead squirrel and a fucking speed bump on the road. He threatened to dispatch a hit squad to murder his opponent, William Braddock, 41 of St. Petersburg. The threats were on June 8th, 2021. He said he was going to call up his Russian-Ukrainian hit squad to take on his rival. This is the good old Democratic Party. So he's been brought back and he's on trial now, or going to go on trial. But earlier this month, Luna revealed that her office received another very serious shooting request. I think this congresswoman needs some protection. For some reason, they want to kill her. She's a damn classy and good congresswoman. And this is a shame. And I guess one could say this is what happens when you demonize a president, when you use words like extinguish, eliminate, or you do the things that Schumer did when you say, hell will break down around you, Kasich and who was the other one, and Cunningham. Now, we're gonna finish talking about my former hometown, New York, and the bribery case there, because there was an excellent article by the two lawyers who argued the McDonald case in the Court of Appeals. Now, let me remind you of the McDonald case. The McDonald case is the case that if anybody would read it, would say that Jack Smith is not qualified to be or should not be a special prosecutor in a case involving a political figure, because he already has the worst example of a frame-up in history, documented by the Supreme Court in the McDonald case in an 8-0 decision, reversing all the things he did that were unethical to frame McDonald. And if you take one step beyond it, you knew that he did that because the real purpose was to stop McDonald from running for president. And they did. They tried him. They tried him completely improperly. He got convicted. after all the elections are over and he's been disgraced and out of politics, his case was unanimously reversed. It never should have gone to trial in the first place, and he probably wouldn't have won, but he would have had a chance. Well, that is exactly the game plan that Garland had in mind for Trump. And that's why he selected a guy who, I mean, it's like selecting a guy who's an expert at defensive plays that you like. This guy is an expert at a crooked defensive play or offensive play, however you want to look at it. Now, that case was reversed because, let me make it easy on a Supreme Court case, because it was chicken shit. The stuff that McDonald got were things that often are given between friends and associates and even in politics. The things that he did for it were things you would normally do without connection to those things, and the connection was not made. In other words, there was no quid pro quo. You might remember this because there is a hell of a quid pro quo in the Biden case, right on tape, in which Biden says, get rid of the prosecutor if you want the $7 billion or the billion in loan guarantees. And if you don't get the $1 billion. So the quid is you get the $7 billion. Here's the billion. The quo is the official action of getting rid of the prosecutor, which also then included, because this gets a little more complicated than what he said on tape, selecting the other prosecutor that Biden approved, and that's on tape that they don't tell you about. And then that prosecutor dismissed a case that his son was involved in. So now you got a nice clean bribery case. McDonald was not a clean bribery case. There was no quid pro quo like that. It wasn't all connected up. Biden was. Crooked Garland never prosecuted that case, but he's going to prosecute Adams. So Adams, these lawyers say, is very much the McDonald case. Prosecutors must prove an agreement to furnish concrete exercises of actual government power. And this case is light on official actions promised in return. And the things that were given fit in the chicken shit category, don't they? Upgrades. It's not 3.5 million from Irina Budarina, one of the crookedest people in Russia and one of the people closest to Putin, or 8 billion from Mykola Zlochevsky, who is one of the worst organized criminals in Ukraine, or 21 to 31 billion from Xi Jinping, from the Red Chinese government directly. I mean, that's like real money. This was upgrading airline tickets. Upgrading airline tickets. That's the main one. That was the quid. But what's the quo? Connect it together. Well, the quo is hosting politicians for prestigious events. The guys here say, if that's the case, Martha's Vineyard will need to become Martha's Federal Correctional Institution. Remember, until he got a house there, Obama went there every summer for free, and now Biden goes every summer for free. That's probably worth more than all of the Adams case put together. And what did he do in return? He pushed New York City to clear the construction for the Turkish consulate. Now, why did he do that? Because Erdogan, the president, was coming and they wanted it done in time. At the first time that a mayor pushed something to get done in order to please the government. And the thing, and he did that because they upgraded some tickets. Well, no connection between the two. No connection between the two. On that basis, you surely should be prosecuting Biden for giving up the Bagram Air Base. I mean, he got real money. $31 million and he gives up an airbase that no president in his right mind, unless he was bribed, would give up 400 miles from China. That may someday lead to some destruction in the United States. And China now has the airbase. But they didn't prosecute him. This is hardly. Then it says that the owner of a construction business arranged significant contributions over many, many years. And he asked for help to go to a cultural event and for expediting an issue with the Department of Buildings. But he was a long-term supporter. And he asked for two things that people ask for normally. And if they're entitled to it, they get it. If they're not entitled to it, they don't get it. The Supreme Court says there must be an explicit quid pro quo in order to establish bribery. There isn't. And in any event, even if there was, case should be dismissed because it's clear he never would have been prosecuted if he didn't criticize the demented crook in the White House. I don't know what he's doing still supporting Harris. The guy has been made a pigeon like me and Trump and Professor Eastman and Mike Roman and you name it. Yeah, I'll give you a whole legendary list of people who are being prosecuted for things that they didn't do or aren't crimes. I see the Georgia court has thrown out the electors case. The electors case is not a fraud case. Those people weren't presented as the electors that should be put in the electoral college until and unless a court or legislature made a determination that the election was fraud and that Trump had actually won. Then they'd be available to take the place of the ones who have been declared fraudulent electors. They had to be there because if they weren't there, the court could have made that decision or a legislature could have made that decision. And Trump would have had no electors. The electors pass out into eternity after the electoral college. This followed a precedent of Kennedy and Nixon, and I think also of Thomas Jefferson. And Professor Eastman proposed it, and it was not done with any kind of misrepresentation. Nobody claimed that they were the electors until and unless there were an official action by a court or legislature. Now, there might be a dispute as to whether a legislature is enough. We would say under Article 2, Section 2 of the Constitution, the legislature has a right to select the electors, not anyone else. And they have a complete summary right to do that, a supreme right to do that based on the Constitution. So says the Supreme Court. So that's what lawyers rely on. I think the rest of that silly case will go because the rest of the case, I don't even know what's left of it now in Georgia. I don't remember what's in it. You know, most of the people in the case that I conspired with, I don't know. I never met. I don't know them. I don't know what they did.
Yeah.
The other part is the conversation with the Secretary of State, who's since been removed from the electoral board because the lieutenant governor concluded that in the last 3 elections, he hasn't conducted a fair election. One of them is 2020. So he will not be running the election, which gives me great hope that it'll be a fair, an honest one.
Well,
And if you listen to Burt Jones carefully, Burt basically says that he's been in charge of the Electoral Commission for 3 elections, all of which are highly irregular.
does that earpiece work for you right now, Mayor? Because I
Yeah.
want to play this clip. Can you hear me talking to you?
No, not yet.
Nothing? You don't hear anything?
Get say something.
Testing.
Nope.
Okay. I see yours. I'm gonna plug them back in. I want to try and play a clip of Kamala, if I can here, before we sign off.
Did she mess up again?
Yeah. And
She's showing why she failed the bar exam again.
And fire this up here. All the way over here. We'll start 30 minutes. So, I guess Kamala spoke to.
Oh, Molo.
Play this clip here. Here's Kamala speaking at a.
Where was she today, by the way?
That's the other thing. I don't know if
Took a day off?
anywhere. Yeah, she's been taking time. But let's play Kamala Harris here. Delivered by two ex-NBA players.
Going from a show to a whole entire company, what is your your economic plan moving forward
Can you
for
tell
people
us who
who
they are
are
before we start?
living paycheck to paycheck
who they
and
are.
struggling for groceries and rent and homeowners?
So, look, I grew up. So my sister and I were raised by our mother. We lived for a long time in an apartment on top of a child care center. That child care center was actually owned by a woman who lived 2 doors down from us, Mrs. Shelton, who was, by all of our accounts and feelings, our second mother. She helped raise us. And so she was a small business owner. So I'll start with the small business, and congratulations on
Thank
what you
you.
guys have done. I, from a child, knew who our small business owners are, right? I mean, you're business leaders, but you're also civic leaders. You take seriously your voice and how you can mentor, how you can grow, right? Communities and the sense of communities. I love our small businesses. And so a lot of my work in terms of building and growing the economy has focused on small businesses. And my vision overall is we need to build an opportunity economy in which we increase opportunity for all, including small business owners. So a lot of my work, even in the Senate, was about increasing access to capital through our small businesses, and in particular through our community banks. So I've been responsible.
Going from a show to a whole entire company, what is your your economic
That's
plan
wonderful.
moving forward for people who are living paycheck to paycheck?
So there. So how about that clip? Here's the.
Yeah, let's hear the question. Play it as loud as you can.
Living paycheck.
So my sister and I were raised by our mother. We lived for a long time in an apartment on top of a child care center. Child care center.
Well, I mean, first of all, she did leave out, and she must have realized I grew up with my, she was going to say middle class, because about 18 times she's begun a question like, what are you going to do the first day you're the president? What are you going to do about the economy? What are you going to do about, what are you going to do about Ukraine? I grew up middle class, and I mean, she really is stupid. Does she say anything here? Does she say anything she's going to do to help the economy? At the very end, does she do her ridiculous price controls?
I wish we had our headphones.
Or does she do her rent control, which would absolutely ruin the economy for poor people?
But there.
Then she's got her giveaways, $6,000 here and 25 grand there and 12 grand here, which will cost another 1.5 trillion and take inflation. I don't know. The American people trust Trump on the economy by about 8-10 points better than her. They trusted him better than Biden on the economy by 20 points better. You really think she knows anything about the economy? You're really stupid if you do. She has not expressed one single concept that suggests she understands the American economy or any economy, or that she's got the brains to understand anything. She's weaker on the economy than the law, and she failed the bar exam. Can't imagine she'd pass an economics exam, economics 101 even. Well, the election is going to have a big event tomorrow night. I do hope that Comrade Tampon Walz gets exposed. You know, the tampon's fine. Maybe we could find out if he has any interest in a tampon company. What do you think? Maybe the Guardian tampon company, or the Commanders tampon company. We'll see if he has any interest in that. But the real issue here is, hey, Tim, let's go piece by piece with your connection with the Red Chinese. Let's see how close it is. Okay, pal? All right. Well, we'll be back tomorrow night. We want you to pray. And any last minute thing on Israel? They're just proceeding to invade Lebanon. We don't know how far up they're going.
Yeah, targeted strikes. We'll take a look.
So the real question now, like last night, the question was, are they going to invade? Answer's now yes. Real question is, are they going to get out of the demilitarized zone that is theoretically was supposed to be demilitarized, and the UN for 5 years did nothing about it. So this Israeli action, since they're being attacked out of that zone, is certainly completely obvious and justified. And we'll see how the communists in the reigning regime, the Biden-Harris regime, react to it. Somehow they'll stab Israel in the back. But we'll have that for you tomorrow, and we'll be back tomorrow at 7 on Frank's speech. Also, you can get that on X as well as this at 8 o'clock. America's Mayor Live, and we'll get you ready for the debate, because we'll go right into it. We'll go right into the debate, and we'll come up with as many things as we can, previewing what's going to go on in the debate, and who knows what's going to happen tomorrow. Right? Today, Israel is, in the words of a guy from Brooklyn, kicking ass. So keep doing it, because you're doing the work of God. God bless America.
You usually say that's not your usual sign-off, Mayor.
What?
God bless the people of Israel.
I did it earlier.
You did it earlier. Oh, okay. So you kind of split
I said
up
pray.
in
I said
two.
pray for the people of Israel. Pray.
And so sign us off one more time, because I kept this off.
Oh, you messed it up. Well, okay. Look, I want you to pray for these people who are engaged in a war. The people of Ukraine who are being needlessly killed because of their corrupt government and ours. That it should have been over a long time ago. Either win or don't keep killing people just because you're making money. We want to pray for the people of Israel, because it's a shame when you've lost your best friend, but it's going to come back if Trump becomes president. And I want to pray for the people of America, because this is the time in which we got to count for the survival on the country, on the traditional common sense of the American people, knowing many of them have been brainwashed by Marxism, with people like Walz, who became, I believe, a Marxist trainer. So God bless America. Bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason